99% of the online scrutiny is because of my dad. And he is exactly right. That's why it was really a mistake.
He still broke records that your Pro Bowler and Super Bowl contestants haven't even touched in the NFL level.
Shedeur was my 20th player. He's a first-round caliber player. Like, talent-wise, both those guys, I think, have a huge advantage over Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett has to be light years better.
To assign from a personality standpoint to Shedeur Sanders, and I think that's incredibly unfair to the young man.
Nobody saw it coming. 7 sessions into his first NFL training camp, a rookie quarterback took the field as if he had been running the league for years. Shedeur Sanders wasn't intended to be the focus of the piece, let alone the headline. However, in Cleveland, he achieved both in less than a week. Something seemed different from the moment he snapped that first photo. The cadence was crisp. The reads began before he even had the ball in his hands. Defensive blitz packages, which frightened seasoned experts, were cut apart in real time. Who brought in the safeties and corners to humble him? They were the ones being picked apart, and he accomplished it all without the wide-eyed reluctance that typically indicates a rookie's inexperience. It was as if he had bypassed the NFL learning curve totally. He was changing defenses, identifying disguised coverages, and delivering passes through windows so small they hardly appeared. Veterans on the sidelines looked at each other, not in amazement, but with a calm awareness that this youngster was not meant to be doing that. And yet, here he was.
So I'm looking at Shedeur Sanders, and I'm understanding that that man's cerebral mindset is not only on the field. It's off the field, the networking, the building of the brand, the understanding of, okay, the NFL could reject you at any given time, so leverage is always the key.
Cutting up a professional defense in his first week of work. But the craziest part? Shedeur Sanders was not even supposed to be here yet. He was not the starter. He was not even officially the backup. What happened next shown that sometimes the script is thrown out before the season even begins. When Shedeur Sanders signed his rookie contract with the Cleveland Browns, few people noticed. It was the type of 4-year slotted contract that every mid-round choice receives predictable income, minimal guarantees, nothing to write home about.
And it's that branding, bro, being a business, a walking business brand. He's a 5th-round pick, and he generated damn near well over $300 million already in merchandise sale.
On the surface, it appeared that the Browns were merely checking a box. However, something unique was tucked deep within the fine print. Performance triggers, incentives that would significantly increase his pay not in year 3 or year 4, but if he saw considerable playing time this season. That is unusual for a putative developmental quarterback. That is practically unheard of. It made you question if Cleveland's general management knew something that the rest of the league didn't.
Man, listen, Shedeur we talked about it, Earl. He's talented. Like, he has all the talent and ability you want. He has the leadership qualities you need.
Had they seen enough in private exercises to predict that this rookie would make his way onto the field earlier than expected? Some insiders interpreted it as modest confidence in his potential. Others referred to it as a backup plan, insurance in case their quarterback room experiences turbulence. However, those secret clauses would eventually take on a completely new significance. Within a week, Shedeur Sanders was making them appear less like an insurance policy. It is more like a prediction. Day 7 of the Browns training camp was supposed to be routine. A couple second-team reps, some light work against the defense, nothing noteworthy. The objective was to bring Shedeur in gradually, allowing him to adjust to NFL speed before putting him in the fire. However, football does not care about planning. That morning, the Browns' first-team defense, one of the most formidable in the league, lined up across from the rookie, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit. Pro Bowlers were staring him down, ready to make him look exactly what he was, a 5th-round rookie with no NFL snaps.
The information that was out on Shedeur Sanders came from a lot of people that a lot of people trust and people think that are credible.
Most young quarterbacks disintegrate in that situation. They hold the ball for too long. They forcefully toss us into danger. They panic when the pocket collapses. Shedeur did not. He began examining the defense as if he had studied it for years. Quick reads, accurate time. Passes that hit receivers in stride before the defense could react. Drive after drive, he kept the chains moving without the rookie blunders that plague young quarterbacks. By the end of practice, the energy on the sidelines had transformed. Defensive veterans who had come in hoping to rattle him were walking away, shaking their heads and smiling. Word quickly spread. over the field, into the locker room, and beyond the practice gates. It was no longer about having a good day at camp. This was something larger. Because in a single practice, Shedeur Sanders had transformed from a developmental prospect to a serious problem for every defensive back in the building. And everyone,
I do think he has earned the opportunity because he throws an incredibly good ball, a very catchable ball, and he's just so accurate. His ball placement is excellent. They had a play.
From teammates to coaches, knew it. The extent of the ripple effect was unknown at the time. Inside an NFL locker room, respect is not given out. It's earned, and it normally takes months or even years to develop. However, following day 7, Shedeur Sanders began gathering it in real time. Wide receivers who hardly recognized his cadence stayed after practice to catch more throws from him. Nobody asked them to. They simply needed more practice with the rookie, who was suddenly throwing dimes into the smallest windows. It wasn't forced or planned. It happened naturally. That's when you realize something serious is going on. Even veterans took note. Guys who had gone through a dozen training camps were quietly saying to each other, "He's not supposed to be making that read yet." Defensive leaders, the same ones entrusted with humbling him, arrived early the next day, perhaps to see if what they saw was a fluke. The coaches saw it too, and their actions spoke more than any press conference could. By the next practice, Shedeur was no longer only jogging with the second team. He was getting reps with the starters, testing his timing with the top receivers against the league's best starting defense. Officially, nothing had changed on the depth chart.
My expectations have absolutely changed. Absolutely. My expectations have changed because a lot of what we're hearing from Cleveland has changed again.
When we talk about what I saw, no. Let's not be so.
Unofficially, things were moving. And then, there was the business aspect. Shedeur was more than just another rookie attempting to fit in. He was a brand. Before he ever threw an NFL touchdown, his college stardom and family name had earned more than $300 million in memorabilia sales. In a league where attention is valuable, this type of pull causes owners to perk up and marketing teams to take note. Whispers developed into discussions which began to leak. The front office was paying close attention. The veterans adjusted their expectations. What about the fans? They were starting to dream about something they hadn't had in years, a quarterback worth believing in. However, Shedeur's ascension was not limited to the locker room. It was starting to move up the organizational ladder. Soon, the rookie was no longer merely following the playbook. He was on the owner's radar. Jimmy Haslam is not your typical NFL owner. In Cleveland, his fingerprints are on everything: roster decisions, coaching hires, even practice culture. And while most owners are content to skim daily reports, Haslam is known to get directly involved when something catches his eye.
He's an actual proven talent. He's proven that every single team you put him on, he becomes better.
After day 7, something did. Reports started circulating that Haslam had spent hours that night reviewing practice footage not of the entire team, but specifically of Shedeur Sanders. Over and over, he rewound plays, watching how the rookie processed coverages, how quickly the ball left his hand, how unshaken he looked when the pocket collapsed. By the next morning, the whispers were out. The owner had questions. Then came the moment that set the media on fire. In an informal chat with a small group of reporters, Haslam dropped one line that hit like a depth charge. When you see a young guy process that fast, you've got to at least think about the future sooner than later. No context. No follow-up. Just enough ambiguity to send speculation into overdrive. Was this a casual remark? Or was the owner nudging the coaching staff toward a real quarterback competition? Depending on who you asked, it was either nothing or everything. Inside the building, the reaction was mixed. For some, Haslam's interest was a badge of honor for Shedeur, proof that his performances were impossible to ignore. For others, it was an unwelcome complication. The Browns had invested heavily into Deshaun Watson, committing not just money but public credibility to him. Any hint of a QB controversy risked shaking the team's foundation. But Haslam wasn't just reacting to a few flashy plays. Sources close to the organization hinted he saw something deeper, a mental edge, a leadership spark, the kind of intangible quality that can't be taught. He'd seen quarterbacks with stronger arms, bigger frames, and longer resumes fail under the weight of the NFL spotlight. Shedeur? He seemed to thrive under it. The message was subtle, but clear. The rookie was no longer just another camp body. He was on the radar of the one man in Cleveland who could accelerate his rise with a single decision. And that shift changed everything. Because once the owner starts asking questions, everyone else starts looking for answers. Coaches dissect practice tape frame by frame. Scouts revisit old college evaluations. PR teams prepare for every possible headline. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just competing for reps anymore. He was entering a new kind of spotlight, one where every throw, every read, and every interaction could tip the scales. But attention from the top comes with a price, and soon, the rookie's biggest challenge wouldn't just be the defense across the line of scrimmage. It would be navigating the storm brewing inside his own building. Nothing gets people talking in the NFL like a quarterback controversy, even if it's not official. You could feel the temperature in Cleveland's building start to rise after Haslam's comment. People started to disagree in the dressing room. Some veterans liked what they saw. They liked how confident and cool Shedeur was, and how he acted like he belonged. It wasn't arrogance to them. It was confidence, the kind that brings a group together when things become tough. Some even said in private that they were surprised at how quickly he made decisions and how well he placed the ball for a novice. But not everyone was happy. Others concerned this abrupt spike constituted a disruption to a carefully planned plan. They referred to the synergy the team had been trying to create around Deshaun Watson, warning that too much excitement for the rookie could fracture faith in the starting quarterback. One defensive veteran put it bluntly, "We can't have the room picking sides before week 1. The coaching staff was stuck firmly in the midst. Publicly, they restated the same line the depth chart hasn't altered. Shedeur is progressing well, and Watson is the starter. Privately, it wasn't so simple. Every practice was being examined frame by frame. Every crisp throw from Shedeur was another data point. Every missed read by Watson raised more eyebrows. Then there was the media. Local reporters started tracking Shedeur's every rep like it was a playoff game. National outlets picked up the chatter, presenting it as a probable Cleveland QB shakeup. Social media carried it further, with highlight clips of Shedeur becoming viral within minutes, spawning hashtags like Start Shedeur and Browns Future Now. The fan base, too, was breaking into camps. One side wants the Browns to ride the hot hand, take the chance, embrace the future now, and finally give Cleveland something to believe in. The other side warned against responding to camp hype, pointing to the danger of putting a rookie into the fire too soon. Each party believed they were correct. Each side was becoming louder. And in the thick of it all sat Shedeur Sanders, calm, cool, and seemingly undisturbed by the fury spinning around him. But that tranquility was about to be tested, because the Browns had prepared something that would provide everyone, teammates, coaches, fans, and maybe even the owner, the clearest image yet of whether this rookie buzz was true. A full-contact scrimmage versus the starting defense. No red jerseys, no safety nets, just basic football. For Shedeur, this wasn't just another practice. This was the closest thing to a live audition for the position, and everyone in Cleveland was about to be watching. The morning of the scrimmage, the atmosphere felt different. This wasn't a routine camp session. Players moved with more urgency, coaches spoke in shorter sentences, and the stands packed with media, scouts, and fans buzzed with anticipation. Shedeur knew what this meant. No red jersey today, no rookie exception. He'd be playing behind the second-team line, facing Cleveland's starting defense at full speed. This was his chance to prove that the whispers about him weren't just hype. The first series started rocky. Garrett burst off the edge, forcing Shedeur to dump the ball early. But instead of rattling him, it sharpened his focus. On the next drive, he started attacking. Quick slants to Jimmy Horn Jr. turned into chunk plays. A perfectly timed seam route split the safeties. Then, the highlight rolling left under pressure, he fired a dart to the back corner of the end zone where only his receiver could get it. The sideline erupted. By the fourth series, Shedeur had done the unthinkable. He led 2 scoring drives against one of the league's best defenses. The crowd was chanting his name. The defense was frustrated. The offense was energized. And the coaches? They were silent, scribbling notes, exchanging glances that said more than words ever could. When the whistle blew, it wasn't just the end of a scrimmage, it was the start of a real conversation inside the Browns building. Shedeur Sanders had just made this quarterback battle impossible to ignore. By the time Shedeur walked off the field, the noise around him was deafening. Cameras flashed. Microphones crowded in. Teammates slapped his helmet, some with genuine excitement, others with cautious acknowledgement. In the locker room, conversations were hushed but intense. A few offensive linemen talked about how the kid just sees the field different. Defensive players muttered about needing to tighten coverage, an indirect compliment that spoke volumes. Upstairs, in the executive offices, the debate was already raging. Some staffers argued the scrimmage proved Shedeur could handle live NFL pressure. Others warned one good day shouldn't overshadow the long-term plan. But no one could deny it. Shedeur had forced himself into the conversation. The media wasted no time. By the evening, sports talk shows were looping the end zone throw on repeat. Analysts debated whether the Browns had just stumbled onto their future franchise quarterback. Social media trended with QB controversy and Shedeur time. Even the players' families felt the ripple. Shedeur Sanders posted a cryptic message on X. Pressure busts pipes, or it makes diamonds. It didn't take a genius to figure out who he was talking about. But the biggest shift came from the fans. Cleveland talk radio was split right down the middle half, calling for Shedeur to start week 1, half warning that rushing him could ruin the long game. Shedeur didn't say much publicly. Just a simple line in his post-scrimmage interview, "I'm here to compete." That's it. It was short, it was controlled, but it was enough to send a clear message. This wasn't over. The day after the scrimmage, the mood in Berea shifted again this time, not because of anything happening on the field. It was the voices from upstairs. Ownership had been watching. Not just the game footage, but the reactions, the chants from fans, the social media explosion, the national headlines calling the Browns the next great QB controversy. To them, this wasn't just football. It was business. A full stadium, national buzz, and jersey sales climbing overnight? That's the kind of momentum franchises dream about, and the man at the top wasn't about to ignore it. Behind closed doors, sources say the owner called a casual meeting with the coaching staff. On paper, it was a routine check-in. In reality, it was a not-so-subtle nudge. The message was clear: we can't ignore what the kid is doing. If he keeps playing like this, the city's going to demand him. The head coach pushed back, reminding everyone that the season was a marathon, not a sprint. But the room could feel it. The balance of power was shifting. What had started as a developmental year for Shedeur was becoming a real threat to the established order. Word of this meeting trickled back to the locker room. Veterans exchanged glances. The starters' camp grew quieter. And Shedeur, he stayed locked in, like he knew the next practice might be the most important of his life. The Browns were no longer just managing a quarterback battle. They were navigating a political storm. And just like that, a quiet training camp turned into the biggest quarterback story in the NFL. One scrimmage, a handful of throws. And now, the entire city of Cleveland, maybe the whole league, is watching every move Shedeur Sanders makes. Is this the start of a franchise legend? Or the setup for a heartbreak? One thing's for sure, the pressure isn't going away. The fans want answers. The media wants a headline. And the Browns? They've got a decision to make that could define the next decade of this team. Drop your take in the comments. Should Shedeur start week 1? Or should the Browns stick to the plan? I'll be tracking every twist and turn of this story, so if you want the full ride, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and be here when the next chapter drops. Because if you thought this QB battle was wild already, you haven't seen anything yet.